Howdy folks, we're going to take a look at switch statements. Now switch statements are a way of essentially having one of those chain of if, else if, else if, else if, else ifs in a slightly more condensed format. Now I'm not really a big fan of switches, and probably the reason is that any switch can be replaced with an if, else if, else if, else if chain, but not every if, else if, else if, else if can be replaced with a switch. So in terms of utility, they're a little bit more limited than what you can do with these if, else if, else if, else ifs. So we'll take a look at them. I'm never going to use them, but they're relatively common for some basic cases here. So what I want to look at for an example here is we'll ask the user to enter, we'll say their favorite color, and then we'll see, depending on what their favorite color is, we'll output some sort of result here. So we'll ask the user to enter your favorite color, and then we'll say, we'll get the result here. So we'll save a string for favorite color. Favorite color is our keyboard.next line. And now what we would have done then with an if, else if, else if, and I'll write this one first. We could say, hey, if favorite color dot equals ignoring case blue, I might say something like, that's my favorite color too. Favorite too. And then we might say else if favorite color equals ignoring case. If it is red, say red is my oldest son's favorite. And then we might say, okay, if it's not blue and it's not red, else if favorite color equals purple. And then I might say that is my middle daughter's favorite color. And then else if it's not red, it's not blue, it's not purple, how about if favorite color equals ignoring case yellow, then I'll say that is my oldest daughter's favorite color. And you kind of get the idea here, and we'll just have an else here. We'll say, okay, I don't have a kid who likes that color, or something like that. So just comparing one at a time: blue, red, purple, yellow, or everything else. So if it's this, else if it's this, else if it's this, else if it's this, else if it's this, on and on and on. Now it's a little bit of typing here, and this ignoring case, we've got a couple options for this as well. So one of the things we could do, again, right, is we could say, hey, let's just take this to lowercase and say, whatever you enter here, great, I'm just going to put it in lowercase, and then I can just use equals. I've saved maybe a little, I didn't even type these equals ignoring case, I just hit tab, so maybe that's helpful, but this is actually necessary in a switch here. So what we do with a switch is we say, hey, we're going to switch on favorite color. So you say switch, and you give it what we're switching on. Now this is relatively new for Java, where you can switch on a string. It's been around for quite a while, so I wouldn't worry about it. But in some older versions of Java, you can't switch using a string. You could only do it with numeric values. But again, that's probably not all that important right now, because we've had these later versions for quite a while. But now for strings, then, instead of saying if something matches here, we say case, and I'll say blue, and I put a colon in. And again, this is another reason I don't like switches. Just the whole syntax here is really funny here. And if it's blue, I'll say that's my favorite too. Then I have to use the word break. Break means end the switch, right? Ends the switch. Okay, and then I might have a case for red and a colon, and then I can have this one in here, sure. And then I'll break, and then I'll have a separate case for, what did I have in here? I had purple, and then my case for purple here was this one, and then we break, and then I had a case for, yellow, and then we'll grab this one here with yellow, and then the ending else is just known as default here. So it's not an else, it's a default at the end. That's your default case, which is, if it's not any of these, your default is this else here, because if it didn't match, then just go for it, that's fine. Oh man, what is my code? I want to reformat. Control-Alt-L. Alt. The format code here is awesome. It'll automatically line things up and add your spaces for you. But this is a switch, this is replacement. Now, you don't need, oh, I need a break here though. You don't need a break after the default, because the default is the end of the switch. You can't have cases after default, so there's no need to break because the switch is already done at this point here with this switch. Now this is fine. There's not necessarily anything wrong with this. You know, it might look a little easier to follow, I suppose, here. Um, and it's not too terrible, but it's hard to do things that are more complex. Um, so like with ranges. So if I were to have some sort of range with some logical operators here, it's not going to do any good. So if I were to say, hey, enter your favorite number, and then we'll have an int for favorite number equals integer.parseInt of the keyboard.next line, next line. There we go. And I can say, hey, if the favorite number is greater than 0 and favorite number is less than 10 here, right? We could say, I don't know, something here. You like single digits. Sure. Right? As soon as we have this sort of complex case here, a switch can't really do that. It sort of can, but we start. I'll show you some limitations here. So then I'll say, hey, else if my favorite number is greater than or equal to 10, and my favorite number, not favorite color, sorry, is less than 100, how about we say you like 2-digit numbers? So, and then else, I don't know, how about we'll say you like big numbers? Sure. Now, doing this with a switch is really tricky. This one is doable, but it's not going to be pretty here. So we would switch on favorite number, and then what we would do is we'd say case 1. Then we'd say case 2, and we'd say case 3, and we'd say case 4, and we'd say case 5, and we'd say case 6, and we'd say case 7, case 8, and case 9. And what happens here is switches are super weird in that the first case that matches, it will stop checking the other ones and go and run some code until it finds a break. So then I could say in here, you like single digit numbers. So I can't put a range. You can't have a case like favorite number less than 10. Like this doesn't work as a case. A case can only be a single value here. It needs it to be an int here. You can't give it a Boolean result. So you can list out, if you can enumerate all your cases, sure. But for ranges, I'm not going to list out cases 10 through 99 here. That's just silly, right? So you can see why not all if, else ifs can be replaced by a switch. Now some can. Sure, there's nothing wrong with that. If you like this format, go for it. I will never use switches after this. I'm just not a big fan of them at all. I would just always prefer to stick to the if-else ifs. But they're kind of fun. You might see them around here. And, you know, they're not the worst thing in the world. But this break keyword we'll come back to again as well. It does some other things for us a little later on. So that's some switches. Yeah, have a good one. See you next video.